How to import a model. We suppose you have the model made in Maya, 3D Studio Max, or in Blender or another program. You can export it as FBX. That is now the main format S2ENGINE supports, or you can export it as, for example, the simple OBJ file, or in 3ds file, or in Collada file as a file. There are there is a wide variety of formats you can export a model. The main format is FBX. Okay, now I try to see if I have some FBX available. For example, first you have to select the folder you want to import the file into, the folder of your project. For example, I could create a new folder, for example, test. Okay, I select the folder, and now you can drag and drop the file directly into S2ENGINE, the file you want to import. For example, I have an old boat. I don't know if it works, but because it is very old, but we can try to import it. Okay, I have this file. These are the textures. One important thing is that you have to set the texture you are using, the texture path you are using into the tool you are creating the model. Okay, if S2ENGINE cannot reach to find the textures for that model, you can import textures by your own and set the materials by your own. Okay, now I can drag and drop the FBX into S2ENGINE. It seems okay. This is the import dialog. You can choose if you want to load into the scene the file. If you want to see the model into the scene after importing it, you can check this. These are the folders in which the different asset files will be imported. You can change them if you have folders, different folders, in which you want to import the specific resource type. Okay. In other words, if you have textures, if you want to import the textures of the model into a different folder from the folder in which you are importing the model, you can write it here. In the next versions of the engine, this will become a button for letting the user to easily choose the folder, okay, instead of writing directly it, okay. When S2ENGINE import a file, it creates different type of object basing on the file. If the file contains a skeletal model, S2ENGINE creates by default a character. But you can choose the type of object you want if you need this. Also, when S2ENGINE import a single mesh object, it creates automatically a mesh object, but you can click here and set the object class you want the S2ENGINE must create, okay. The same thing if you import a hierarchical model. Hierarchical model usually are imported as custom entities, but if you, for example, need a switch, you can set the switch class for that type of model. Hierarchical models are those models that contains a hierarchy of nodes, but are not a skinned model, but are models in which there is a hierarchy, and in some or all the nodes of the hierarchy there is a rigid mesh, a static mesh, rigid mesh, that a mesh that is not deformable, that is not a skinned mesh, okay. Okay, here are some other specific options. The most important options are model root is in root and collapse FBX. Collapse FBX is used practically every time you import an FBX. This is checked by default, and I suggest to not change this if you are importing an FBX file. Model root is in root practically adds a new node in a new node from which in which all other nodes of the imported model are placed. In other words, S2ENGINE has the ability to import more than one model from a file. Okay, if you have many static models into a file, S2ENGINE import all of them as a separated object. But if you want this model must be contained into a unique model, you have to check this. If you check this, the model is imported for the most of the time, the most of the time is imported as a hierarchical model. For example, we say you have a file with 10, 12 static meshes, 12 objects that are only meshes, okay, and are separated. When you import them into S2ENGINE, these are imported as 10 or 12 mesh objects. If you want to import them as one single hierarchical model, you have to check this. Okay. Optimize are a group of options that can be useful sometimes if you want to reduce the graph nodes or reduce mesh vertices, but sometimes are not often aren't too useful. Okay. Validate is often used for validating the model data, okay, for correcting errors and something like this. Okay, if now I click on import, the FBX model is imported. If I remember well, the FBX file contains a static mesh, a single mesh, so the model will be imported as SM2 file, and into the scene will be created a mesh object. Of course, if your model contains animations, you can check animations. If you want to import only animations, you can uncheck import geometry. Okay. Okay. Now I click on import. S2ENGINE import the mesh, the material, create a new material in which it plays the textures you have set into the modeling package, modeling tool you have used. If the importing is successfully, a dialog, successfully imported dialog appear. If there are some problems, S2ENGINE reports them in the notification dialog. Okay. Now the model is imported. Okay. The model is imported, and S2ENGINE has created also a prefab containing the mesh object of the model, the model containing the model. If you import a skeletal model, a prefab containing a character is created. If you import a hierarchical model, a custom entity prefab is created, or a switch, or an object of the class you have set during the import, before importing the model. Okay. Have you other questions? Of course, I can import again the model. I can, for example, rescale it before importing if the dimension, the size of the model isn't right for the S2ENGINE metric units. For example, I can scale by 10 times the model. The model is imported 10 times bigger. Okay, the model is re-imported 10 times bigger. Okay.